The Well of the Watchers is one of the most popular dungeons in Elden Ring. Not only is it filled with formidable foes like the Cleanroot Knights and the holy spear-wielding Cleanroot soldiers, but it's also filled with lore. The longer you spend exploring this dungeon and its many branches, the more you begin to realize that there are some very strange things going on here. The architecture is unusual, almost alien in appearance. There are signs of great battles all around, not to mention plenty of disturbing sights like the hanging bodies and those horrifying little worm creatures that pop out of the ground. As you delve deeper into the well, you might start asking yourself, what exactly happened here? Eventually you'll come across a small room containing a white and gold pillar. This is no ordinary pillar. However, it's actually a disguised elevator. Once you pull the lever, it ascends, revealing a tunnel leading to a different part of the dungeon. Now that you've defeated every major enemy within the well, it's time to collect the rewards. As a side note, while technically not required, we highly recommend you return to Carrier Manor after beating the Black Knife Titch. The problem was that the Watchers were only human, while the enemies they were meant to fight were either demigods or possessed immense power. For example, the fire giants were tasked with guarding the roots of the Erd Tree. When the god of plague, Mo, invaded the Halig Tree, he corrupted the Watchers, turning them into the Cleanroot Knights and Cleanroot soldiers. Each pillar has a face carved into it, and each face is crying. But that's not all. They're also missing something, a black knife. Each pillar appears to be missing its own black knife. It is theorized that the Watchers removed their black knives and placed them within the pillars as offerings to the Greater Will. That way, even in death, they could protect the Erd Tree and the Golden Order. Those Watchers, who weren't turned into mindless hollow shells, became known as the Black Knife Assassins. We don't know for sure, but it's safe to assume they were taken by the Black Knife Titch. She is literally named after the blades. After all, Tick means assassin in French. It only makes sense that she would be in possession of the weapons used by the assassins. Titch herself is a mystery. According to the in-game description, she is the embodiment of the Black Knives and is eternally pursued by the Golden Order. This could mean she was once a Watcher who willingly sacrificed herself to become the vessel of the Black Knives. Or it could mean she was created by the Greater Will, specifically to hunt down the Black Knife Assassins. Either way, she's loyal to the Golden Order and will protect the Erd Tree to her dying breath. Both groups would serve Mog faithfully, hunting down the remaining uncorrupted Watchers. You can now enter the manor without being attacked, and there's some pretty sweet loot inside, including a unique weapon called the Black Knife. Unfortunately, Mo discovered their hiding spot and sent his mightiest servant to deal with them, the Cleanroot Queen. It seems as though this occurred before the events of Elden Ring, as there are no signs of a recent battle in the well and Mog is nowhere to be seen. Instead, we find the disturbing sight of the hanged bodies of the Watchers, likely executed by their own people after they came back from the grave as undead. All of this raises a few questions. Why did the Watchers stay in the well? Why didn't they leave after Mo was banished? The answer, of course, is because they couldn't. Remember when we said the flesh pillars might have been keeping the Watchers trapped? We lied? Or we may have been misinformed. See, when the Cleanroot Queen is defeated, the flesh pillars don't disappear. That means the pillars weren't holding her back, she was holding herself back. Her presence alone caused the flesh pillars and the fleshy walls to grow, essentially trapping the uncorrupted Watchers within the well. Despite the odds, the uncorrupted Watchers continued to resist, buying time for the Golden Order to regroup and formulate a plan to defeat Mo. Specifically, it goes to the room housing the Cleanroot Queen's boss fight, but it also contains 2 additional rooms. We actually don't know their real name. In-game, They're referred to as the unborn, but we'll use the term Watchers for simplicity's sake. Who were the Watchers? Were they some kind of elite warrior? Did they belong to a certain order of knights? The answer to both of those questions is yes. The Watchers were indeed warriors, but they weren't necessarily a dedicated order. Instead, they were members of various noble houses and orders who volunteered to guard the Halig. The first is a small chamber with a dead body wearing a very familiar hat. The explorer's hat. If you didn't know already, this is the hat worn by the merchant Kale. The pillars themselves have faces carved into them, which resembled the mask worn by the Mohican soldiers, but these faces appear to be weeping. To say this place looks weird is an understatement. From this point on, the architecture changes, becoming less organic and more traditional. You'll also start seeing some new enemies, like the Fire Monk, the Fire Prelate, and the Black Knife Assassin. Eventually you'll find a large hall with a bunch of Black Knife Assassins hiding in the rafters. At the end of the hall is another elevator which takes you up to the final area of the dungeon. However, the true final boss of the well is found much later. If you didn't miss anything, that is, in order to reach the secret boss, you need to head back to the beginning of the level and find another entrance. It's hidden behind one of the pillars with a face carved into it, weeping once again. You need to bust through the flesh to reveal the passageway, which leads to a whole underground section of the dungeon. This could suggest the Watchers felt sorrow over whatever happened in the chamber beyond the pillars. Of course, we don't know that for sure. It could just as easily be an artistic choice, or a way to further emphasize how alien this place is. Why is it so messed up? And who were those mysterious Watchers? By the end of this video, we should have some answers for you. But be warned, there are heavy spoilers ahead, so if you haven't finished the game yet, or you're still early in your playthrough, go do something else. For everyone else, let's get started. The first thing we need to talk about is the architecture of the well itself. As soon as you step foot inside, you notice the walls aren't made of stone, wood, or any other traditional building material. They're made of flesh. That's right. It's literally a dungeon made of flesh. A quick inspection reveals that this flesh is similar to the bodies of the Cleanroot Knights, meaning they were likely made from the same stuff. There are 3 main chambers in the Well of the Watchers, each separated by large fleshy pillars. After defeating the first Cleanroot Knight, you gain access to the inner sanctum where you face off against the boss, the Cleanroot Queen. Here you encounter even more enemies and a second Cleanroot Knight. If you continue on, you will eventually come across a large open area filled with nothing but water and the source of the flesh you've been seeing throughout the dungeon. You'll need to traverse a winding path, taking out enemies along the way until you finally reach the last boss of the well, the Black Knife Titch. Now that you've cleaned up the mess at the well, it's time to answer the big question: who were the Watchers? Before the shattering, the Watchers were tasked with protecting the Erd Tree and guarding the Halig Tree, which housed the Greater Will's Golden Order. With their numbers dwindling, the uncorrupted Watchers took refuge in the outer regions of the Halig Tree, namely the Well of the Watchers. Eventually, the Watchers' efforts paid off, and Mo was finally banished from the Halig. If we take a close look at the pillars, we'll notice they aren't quite what they seem. This begs the question, what happened to the Black Knives themselves? And that's the end of our video. Thanks for watching.